Hello friends, I'm Fide instructor Atul Dahale and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to see a very beautiful game played by the 9th world chess champion Tigran Petrosian. Yes, in the year of 1963, he became the world chess champion after defeating Mikhail Botvinnik. He was also named as the Iron Tigran because of his impenetrable defensive skills. In his game, you will always find out that defense or the safety is of the highest priority, and the game which we are going to see is a very beautiful and instructive game. In this game, the moves played by the Petrosian are like the words of a short story, because this game was played in just 29 moves. The game finished. In this game, Petrosian gets small advantages and they convert it into something else, and while doing this thing he gets a good pawn center. After that pawn center, he pushes his pawn, then the pieces which are behind the pawns, like the rooks, especially the rooks, finally gets open files, and the rook, once he gets open file, it arrives on the 7th rank, and once it arrives on the 7th rank, the game gets finished because black must lose some material or he is getting checkmated. So without further delay, let's get started with this game and understand how beautifully Petrosian played in this game. So the game started with d4. He is white in this position. His opponent Corral Hector is black, and this game was played in Montevideo. His opponent played knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3 and d5. Well, this is Queen's Gambit opening. Here he opts for c takes d5, e takes d5, means the Queen's Gambit exchange variation. The bishops arrive on the g5 square, pinning this knight on this diagonal. Now knight bd7 is played. Okay, in this position there is one very nice trick, that if white captures on d5, it will be a mistake because black has a very beautiful move, that is knight takes d5. Here you might capture on d8, that is the queen in this position, but black has a beautiful move, that is bishop b4 check. The queen must come on d2, and after bishop takes d2, king takes d2, king takes d8, black will be the one who is having one extra piece. So we need to be very cautious playing in this opening. So obviously Petrosian understood this thing and he played e3, supporting the pawn on d4 and also releasing this bishop, which might be coming on d3 square. And after this, black played bishop e7. Now the knight is not pinned in this position, so the d5 pawn is being protected. White calmly develops the bishop on d3 square. Castling is done and he brings the knight in the game. Well, knight f3 was also one of the options, but he opts to play it on e2 square because after some time he wants to castle. Okay, then he wants to play f3 and then e4. He wants to grab the center as quickly as possible. For that reason, he wants to play f3 so that the pawn will be coming on f3. That's why he is keeping his knight on e2 so that he can push the pawns in the center of the board. Well, what happened in the game we are going to see. Rook e8 was played. Now queen c2. Very calmly he is playing. Now his attack is there on h7 square. Black plays c6. Okay, very calm move. He plays h3 move. This h3 move is doing two things in this position. Petrosian shows that he is maybe, okay, I'm just giving you a clue, maybe he is not going to castle on the king side. He might be castling on the queen side, and followed by he might be pushing his pawns on the king side. So by playing h3 move, he is preparing the king side attack. The pawn storm which might be coming on the king side is very crucial in this game. So black thinks that okay, I need to exchange some pieces, so he plays knight e4 in this position. There are two options for white. One is like he can exchange the bishop, and another thing is like he can retain the bishop by playing bishop f4. And Petrosian decided not to capture the bishop on e7 because after this queen is also coming in the game, and his only active piece, you can say, the bishop which was there like in the other side of the board, that in this pawn structure the bishop will be exchanged, and that is not something which he wanted to do. So he plays bishop f4. Okay, and one very simple trick is there in the position, that at some point, okay, if he gets the chance, then knight takes d5, c takes d5 and bishop c7 is coming, and the queen will be trapped in this case. His opponent, obviously he plays knight d f6 in this position, releasing the bishop on c8, and here as per the plan Petrosian plays f3. By playing f3, his intentions are quite clear, that he is going to take charge of the center of the board. Now his opponent captured on c3. He captures the knight with the pawn. This is also a very important thing which you should remember. Capturing the pawn towards the center is always a good idea. That's what he is doing. He had the option of capturing with the knight. Okay, he had this option, but in that case the pawn will be still there on b2 square. But now after capturing the pawn on c3 with the pawn, means the piece on c3, his d4 pawn is more supported. The pawn on e3 is obviously ready to go on e4 square. In all this scenario, the center will be very strong, and if you get the opportunity to consolidate your center, then you should play this kind of moves. So black played bishop d6. He is trying to exchange the pieces. Petrosian said like, okay, I will also exchange, no problem for me, because I am getting the breakthrough in the center very quickly with e4 move. And after e4, obviously the threat is to play e5 and capture the piece here, because that will be a fork with the pawn. Black played knight h5 in this case. Okay, he is trying to get away from the main action. Here Petrosian calmly plays e5, and now his pawn structure in the center is very strong. Now his opponent played queen h6 with the idea of playing knight f4 at some point. And now here any player who is thinking like, okay, I want to play on the king side, he will say like, okay, knight f4 is coming, let him come, I might play castle in this position. But if you go for the castle, then black has quite good moves, that he can even play queen e3 check, that is one of the moves in the position, or he can even play knight f4. Okay, knight f4 is also one of the ideas in this position, because after knight f4 he is going for the exchange in this case. Okay, knight f4, queen f4, bishop takes h7, king h8 is a possibility in this position. You might say that, okay, black is losing one pawn, but after bishop d3, bishop e6 will be coming, and black will be having some chances because of the dark squares are weakened in this case. But okay, obviously in this position, queen e3 followed by h6, this kind of moves are also possible. But after queen h6, Petrosian thought that here in this position from the black side, the only active piece is the queen on h6. So he decided to play queen d2, which is not really very common move, because when I was looking at this game, I was little bit surprised by the way Petrosian played. He is just exchanging his opponent's best piece in the position, that is the queen on h6. And after the exchanges, you can see the knight on h5 doesn't really feel good in this position, because g4 is coming, the knight which had the f4 square is not available. So he needs to play g6, and after g4 the knight needs to go back. The bishop on c8 is also not that good, and white's position is very comfortable. So Petrosian accumulated small advantages in this position, and now he is ready to push his pawns. Okay, so h4, h6 is played, but it is said that whenever you are pushing the pawns should be supported by the rooks from behind. That's why he plays a very nice move, that is rook a f1. He is not in any kind of hurry, he is just bringing his pieces wherever he wants to play. So his opponent played bishop d7, now rook h g1 is played. He wanted to play f4, so before he plays f4, he is supporting the pawn on g4. Now b5, his opponent thought like, okay, I will also do something on the other side of the board, but Petrosian just kept on pushing his pawn on the king side, and he just completely crushed his opponent in just few moves. We will say f5 was played. Now their idea is obviously to just capture the pawn on g6, so he captured here. Now the rook's file is opened up. His opponent played king h8, and now again he plays a very beautiful move, that is e6 move. The idea, obviously you can play f6, there is nothing wrong with this move. Then knight e6 might be played, then this knight, or you can even play rook f5, rook h5, and the pawn on h6 will be in trouble. But he plays e6. This is the elegance of Petrosian. He makes the position so simple that he sacrifices the pawn just to get one square away, like one square from his opponent, because the e6 square was available for the knight, bishop and the rook, but by sacrificing the pawn on e6 square, he gets everything whatever he wants. Now his pawn comes on f6 square, the knight is not having any good square. If the knight jumps on h5 square, after bishop g6, the knight will be lost for sure. Okay, the knight will be lost for sure, we don't need to worry about that thing. That's why he plays another move. After this is also rook g6 is there, but I will prefer playing bishop g6 and capturing the knight, which was not having any squares in this position. So he plays knight f5, and Petrosian calmly captures on f5. After this, the rook arrives on g7 square, which is the 7th rank square. The bishop is being attacked, Plus the knight f4, knight g6 is the threat, and that's why in this position his opponent just resigned, because he cannot really save everything in this position. Let's suppose he plays bishop to c8 in this position, the knight will arrive on f4 square, followed by he will be playing knight g6, and it's a check and mate. So in this game Petrosian played very smoothly, very smoothly. One after another, he just pushed his pawn, he got the center. Once his opponent was trying to create any counter chances, he just exchanged the queens, the strongest piece in his opponent's camp, and after that, he just brought the rooks on G and F file, and he pushed his pawn, and then he won the game in a very beautiful way. So I hope that you understood many beautiful things which were happened in this game. You learned something from this and you enjoyed the game. If you enjoyed the game, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. We will be meeting with some instructive game very soon in the next video. Till then, take care and goodbye.